5th regular school board meeting. At this time, we will ask the Reverend Walker to give the invocation and Mr. Martin to give the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you have given to us, for the opportunity that we have to come here to increase the knowledge of our students and give wisdom and strength to the teachers and staff. We think also of those in Las Vegas who have lost their lives. Bless those families. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have many awards and recognitions. Mrs. Hatchett.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. Today, I'm pleased to share some good information with you for each of our schools. Each year, the Virginia Department of Education designates the accreditation status of every school in the Commonwealth based on student state standards of learning performance. We're very proud in Henry County to have 93% of our schools fully accredited, with one school making excellent strides towards accreditation this year as well. Today, we are honoring each school with a plaque designating the years they have been fully accredited. The plaque will hang in a prominent location at the school, and we hope to add to them each year. As you'll notice, they are perpetual plaques. We are going to call each school's representative forward, and so I'll ask Mr. Zayer if you and Dr. Cotton will come down to present the plaques. And principals, when you come up, if you'll accept your plaque and come up onto the stage, we'll take a group picture once everyone has received theirs. Axton Elementary School. Campbell Court Elementary School. Drury Mason Elementary School. G.W. Carver Elementary School. And in preparation for hanging in the fall of August 2018, Meadowview Elementary School. That's right. Mount Olivet Elementary School. Rich Acres Elementary School. Samville Elementary School. Stanleytown Elementary School. Fieldale Collinsville Middle School. Laurel Park Middle School. Bassett High School. and Magna Vista High School. I'd like to ask that you join me in a round of applause for the great work of our staff and students. You guys squeeze together and turn your plaques around. Great, thank you.
Get back to school. I know you got a list waiting for you.
Our second recognition today is for members of our school board. The Virginia School Boards Association recognizes board members for their dedication, time, and hard work in improving boardmanship skills through VSBA meetings, conferences, board development and training, and active involvement in the association. VSBA members earn credits for VSBA Academy Awards, which are based on participation from July 1 to June 30 each year. There are 5 levels of awards with certificates and pins awarded for particular levels. And this year we have several members who are being recognized. At the award level of recognition for 15 credits, Mrs. Flanagan and Mr. Martin. And if you'll come down and receive your certificates. At the level Award of Excellence for 48 credits, we're recognizing Dr. DeVault, who couldn't be here today. The Award of Honor for 66 credits is for Dr. Cotton, and he gets a certificate and a pin. And our award of distinction is Mr. Milner. He earned 84 credits, and he also gets a certificate and a starfish pin. So I'm going to have you guys gather together so I can take your photo. Yeah, over there, Susan. On behalf of the 50 million students attending America's public schools, AASA, the School Superintendents Association, recently announced the launch of its I Love Public Education campaign. It's an ongoing effort to highlight the success of public education and demonstrate why public schools continue to develop future generations of successful students. AASA's 2017 Legislative Advocacy Conference in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of superintendents, America's foremost thought leaders in public education, discussed critical issues facing our schools. During the meeting, the governing board drafted, finalized, and adopted an official resolution in support of the campaign. As participants in the I Love Public Education campaign, Henry County Public Schools is also presenting a resolution in support of public education, which Reverend Alker will read for your consideration prior to a vote to support the resolution.
School Board of Henry County Resolution R 18-05 in support of public education. Whereas Henry County Public Schools promotes equity and excellence for students, educators, and administrators by implementing continuous improvement and research-supported best practices. And whereas whereas the School Board of Henry County supports creating stable, equitable, predictable, and adequate funding for schools based on local, state, and federal revenues that will meet the challenges of universal proficiency and provide the funding base needed to support a system which leads to success for all students, and whereas investing in public education is crucial to ensuring the future health of our economy and our country's global competitiveness. Students must leave their public schools ready for success in our society and ready to fill current and future jobs. A robust federal investment in education is necessary to equip schools with the resources, personnel, facilities, technology to position students to acquire the skills and knowledge needed for college and career success. And whereas public schools provide students with broad-based educational opportunities to include learning multiple languages, having exposure to the history, culture, and context of all regions of the world, learning how to collaboratively solve problems and interact with peoples of different cultures and different lands, and developing empathy for human differences, commonalities, backgrounds, and cultures. Whereas investing in public education is critical to student health, public schools serve as a lifeline for children who can't access health services outside of school. Schools are uniquely positioned to help children and youth acquire lifelong health-promoting knowledge, skills, and behaviors. And whereas investment in public education matters, while the federal government contributes on average just over 10% of a school district's operating budget, the federal funds provide critical support to schools and the neediest students they serve. And whereas getting children ready for democracy embraces the notion that to thrive, this nation must have citizens committed to the ideals and work of democracy, equipped to operate in a democracy, and who can find common ground in their differences and respect where common ground is absent. And be it resolved, these statements exemplify the importance of enhancing educational opportunities for students. Therefore, the School Board of Henry County calls on local, state, and federal lawmakers to prioritize support for strengthening our nation's public schools and empowering local education leaders to implement, manage, and lead school districts by ensuring resources are allocated equitably, providing increased levels of support for needier communities and districts. Curtis R. Milner, Senior Board Chair, Dr. Jared A. Cotton, Superintendent.
Thank you, Reverend Ocker. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion's adopted. Mrs. Hatchett.
Finally, school board members, superintendents, teachers, and parents can play a critical role in creating a climate where bullying is not tolerated. It has been proven when adults and children stand together, bullying ends. This is why the Virginia School Boards Association has declared October to be the SBA Bullying Prevention Month, which is also recognized by the governor. Childhood bullying is a significant problem nationwide. It can cause school absenteeism, mental and physical stress, poor school performance, poor self-esteem, and in some cases, school violence. Over 20% of all school-aged children are bullied each year, upwards of 13 million students. We believe in Henry County Schools that it's important to recognize the signs of bullying and to educate our children on positive behaviors and interventions that they could use in place of alternate methods such as violence in situations that they may experience. Our schools will be recognizing Bullying Prevention Month throughout October and have already begun doing so. You'll see when you visit some of our schools that they're having Blue Shirt Day or Red Ribbon Week and celebrating in different ways and having positive interactions with their peers. Today, Mrs. Flanagan is going to read a proclamation for school board discussion and consideration.
The School Board of Henry County proclamation of October as Bullying Prevention Month. Whereas school bullying is a significant problem in the United States and Virginia, and whereas more than 20% of the youth in the United States are estimated to be involved in bullying each year, either as a bully or as a victim, and whereas an estimated 160,000 students in kindergarten through 12th grade miss school every day due to a fear of being bullied, and whereas bullying can assume many forms, including verbal, physical, and most recently in cyberspace, and can happen on and off school grounds, and whereas VSBA Bullying Prevention Month encourages parents, students, teachers, and administrators to be aware of when bullying occurs and to take timely and appropriate actions to end bullying in their classes and schools. Now, therefore, we, the School Board of Henry County, do hereby recognize October 7, 2017 as Bullying Prevention Month, with the intention that the issue of bullying and its prevention be discussed in our schools and classrooms. Francis Ezair, Vice Chairman, and Dr. Jared A. Cotton, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Flanagan. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second. Proclamation. A motion been made and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Next, we go to our information agenda. Mr. Minter.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the board. I am here today to talk to you about assessment and give you an update. I'm very excited to let you know that based on the official results from the state accreditation report from the Virginia Department of Education, that 13 out of the 14 schools are fully accredited. Fully accredited elementary schools, all of our elementary schools are fully accredited. And 3 out of our 4 secondary schools are fully accredited. As you can see, Philadelphia Collinsville has been listed as a partially accredited reconstituted school. Listed here are the benchmarks for each of the core areas: English at 75%, math at 70, science at 70, social studies at 70. And the state establishes the benchmark for each of these. Here is FC Middle School. As you can see, FC Middle School grew in all 3 areas from the previous year, and we are extremely proud of these accomplishments. Math grew in 5%, moving from 71 to 82%. Reading grew from 69 to 75%, and writing grew from 60 to 68%. Henry County pass rates also increased. We had a great deal of growth in English and in math, and only had a small decline in science and social studies. When you look at Henry County compared to the rest of the state, you can see in comparison to the state percentage pass rates, we are well above the state average in math and only slightly below the state average in English, science, and social studies. When we look at our reporting groups, we have had a great story to tell. We've improved in almost every reporting category. As you can see, we've had growth in every reporting category over the past few years, moving from 69 to 70% with black students, moving from 77 to 81% with white students, 68 to 77 with Hispanic students. Our economically disadvantaged students have moved from 69 to 77, and our students with disabilities have moved from 40 to 48%. And if you look at math, look at the great growth we've had in all reporting groups. We are continuously working hard to close the achievement gaps with students 70 to 76% with black students, 78 to 83 with white. Our Hispanic students have moved from 79 to 88. Economically disadvantaged, 73 to 82. And students with disability have moved from 42% to 57%. Our on-time graduation we recognize as an area of weakness for this year, and it's going to be a focus. As you know, each graduating cohort group is a different group of students. These students came to us in 2013, and we've lost some of these students due to poor decisions, language barriers, or they started working on their GED or ISAP. Though we're not proud of this decrease, we did meet the state benchmark in this area. As you can see, our MAP scores, or our measure of academic progress, our goal for each grade level is to reach 50%. In math, K3, 7, and 8, we reached our goal. The grade levels that did not are only slightly below the benchmarks that we have set. However, if you look at reading, it's a very different story, and we've met all of our goals in every grade level. And as you can see, there's a lot of growth in this area. As a division, 93% of our schools in Henry County are fully accredited. One school is partially accredited reconstituted, and that is no longer anticipated. We have been approved for that. Henry County improved as a division in English and math. We've improved or stayed the same in all state reporting category or groups. We're making strides to close the achievement gap. But we do have some challenges ahead of us. And these challenges we face are reading, writing, and on-time graduation. So we put into place a plan of action. So these are some of the strategies we're working on in reading and writing. Middle school students started writing the first day of school. Students are reading nonfiction text and pairing them with fiction text in the VDOE, or the Virginia Department of Education, writing prompts. The middle school English pacing guide was revised to allow spiraling back to weaknesses identified by SOL data. Students write to a VDOE prompt each quarter, and that prompt is holistically scored, and students are conferenced with on needed revisions. Students take a multiple choice writing test each quarter to allow for reteaching identified weaknesses, and daily silent sustained reading incorporates student chosen text and teacher-student conferencing. Teachers conduct small group and individual conferences on SSR, writing, and reading skills, and teachers are creating individual learning plans for students on IXL based on data from assessments. The division staff presented to English and social studies teachers on writing across the curriculum, and the English curriculum facilitator conducts data conferences with English teachers during weekly meetings. All English teachers have been trained in holistic scoring, and all middle school English and social studies teachers participated in Struggling Readers Academy through UVA in the fall of 2016. When it comes to on-time graduation, our short-term goals are to analyze the current cohort data. We're going to participate in home visits with students that are struggling, but with students that are on the bubble also. Personalized learning stations have been set up at each school. You're going to hear here in a few minutes about the Title IV grant, and project graduation funds we're going to use those funds more focused on how we can help students this year and in the future to make things better. Long term, we're going to analyze the current cohort data beginning in the 9th grade. We're going to continue to up those home visits, and we're going to personalize stations, or continue to have personalized stations for learning in our buildings. Are there any questions?
I think the home visits are excellent.
Yes, sir. I think it will help, and parents will have a better understanding of what we're doing and trying to help their students graduate.
What is a personalized learning station?
So personalized learning stations are areas where we're meeting the needs of the students. We have, in our media centers, we've set up what's called our Success Academy. Our students are behind in credits. We're able to allow them to go to a work area and work on regaining the credits that they need. Now, they may have failed the class, or they may be catching up as well, but it's meeting the individual needs of that child.
Has this already started?
Yes, it has.
All of it?
All of it. Home visits are they'll start actually next week, so. And we've already looked at the data and identified students that need the additional support.
And of course, the
Sounds good.
content is being delivered online for the personalized learning station with a teacher of record assigned. So that's important to know. We did pilot some online learning at the alternative school at CCL, and that worked really well for students. We saw great success with students making up for credits that they needed to graduate. So we want to offer that at both high schools as well.
Any other questions for Mr. Minner? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have an update on Meadowview. Mr. Scott.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the school board. Although we need some rain pretty bad, it's been nice for construction at Meadowview. So I want to bring a few exciting updates for what's taking place out there here lately. On Wing A, the concrete is polished, waiting for some stain. The ceiling grid is installed, and painting continues on that whole Wing A. Wing B, all sheetrock is completed and installing ceiling grid. The main office area, I don't know if you remember or not, but the main office was one of the last areas that they worked on, so it's already under working on the sheetrock. It's completed. They're working on ceiling grid. It's really taken a lot of shape. The work along Figsboro Road has begun. They're already putting down some asphalt and getting all that ready. The base stone for the car rider loop and the main parking area is complete. We've got stairs are being installed in the main lobby. Steel work is just about done. We're just about to pull the contractor for the steel work off, so that's coming to a close. The storefront and the media center is about 80% complete, so that's pretty exciting to see that view from the media center out over the front of the school. We've got the stage floor has been poured, so the only area that hasn't been poured at this point is the main entrance area as far as the floor. So we're just about done with all the concrete pouring. The sheetrock work has begun in the dining room, and then the kitchen hood system and walk-in coolers are installed and ready. I know each month I get an opportunity to bring some of these bullet items to you, but we've got a little special treat for you today. The county, over the past series of our construction here, they've provided us from time to time some aerial views, and so we're pretty excited to be able to share with you what it looks like with the progress right now. Next time I guess I'll put a little music.
It was awfully quiet.
Got quiet in here.
Are there any questions about it?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. There's 5 different items on there. Does any board member have any individual questions on any of the consent agenda items? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Ms. Flanagan to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, we go to our action agenda. First, we have approval of a joint resolution between the school board and the board of supervisors. Dr. Cotton?
Yes, sir. Mr. Zaire, members of the board, I did provide you a copy of this to look at prior to this meeting. Mr. Hall and I have met to talk about the potential of a joint resolution between the Board of Supervisors and the public schools. Of course, Mr. Lyle provided us with a draft of something several months ago, and Mr. Hall and I came together and made some adjustments. In essence, what we're proposing is that $500,000 of our carry forward be designated to the schools for capital improvement projects. You know, our current process now is we have to go to the Board of Supervisors to use any of our savings for capital improvement projects. What this agreement would allow us to have is that guaranteed first $500,000. Anything above that, between $500,000 and $1 million, would go back to the county, and then anything over $1 million would be split between the county and the schools. And of course, what's positive about this agreement is it gives us a guaranteed amount of $500,000 that we can apply towards capital improvement. The other positive thing is it allows us to save funds from year to year. If we wanted to put money aside for a larger project down the road, you know, the way that things currently happen for us is we hope to get the money, and we usually don't find out until very late after the budget process has been completed, and that really puts a strain on our capital improvement projects that we put in place. So really the first step is for our board to approve this resolution, and then it will go to the county board of supervisors. So I wanted to bring this forward for discussion and see how the board felt about this possible resolution. Anything you want to add, Mr. Lau?
No, I think you're hitting the two highlights that you can save the money from year to year if you don't want to expend. Say if there was, $500,000 a couple of years you wanted to save it, you could, or part of it, and so it allows for it to be saved, and then it just allows for there to be more planning longer term ahead of time.
And when is this going to be presented to the Board of Supervisors?
I think at their next meeting is my understanding, depending on where we'd go with this. But I think their next meeting they will bring it forward, and I'm sure that Mr. Hall has already shared with them a draft as well at this time.
And he intends to recommend that they approve the resolution as well.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Flanagan, seconded by Reverend Walker to approve the joint resolution R18-06. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, we have selection of a board member to serve on Strategic Plan Reboot Committee. Dr. Cotton.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, we are up for a reboot or a revision for our strategic plan. You know, our strategic plan is envisioned to 2018, and 2018 is fast approaching, so we do need to come up with a new strategic plan. And what we're proposing is not to go back to the drawing board, because I feel like we've got some really good things in place already, and we had a lot of stakeholders involved in the initial plan that we have. But we're calling it more of a reboot, where we come back together to make sure that our stakeholders are still on board with our goals, and also look to tweak or update areas that need improvement. We are going to pull together a steering committee. We're working with a communications person who's going to be providing us with some support with doing surveys and focus groups, but we're wanting to put together a steering committee. And that steering committee will consist of school division leaders as well as community leaders and business leaders that will be invited to that conversation, because you always got to check in with those different stakeholders, because they all should have input in our plans for the next several years. What we do need is at least one or two board members who would be willing to serve on that, and what I understand is it will be 2 meetings in the evening. We'll make sure they're in the evening, because I know that we want to be flexible with your work schedules, because I know some of you are certainly working during the day. It wouldn't be more than 2 meetings that we would have, and one member certainly would be all we would need, but we certainly welcome 2 members if there's more than one board member who would like to serve on that committee. Ultimately, this board will approve whatever we develop, but I would like to have board members at the table as well. So that's kind of our plan. So at this time, I would like for the board to consider volunteers or nominations to serve in this capacity. And by the way, this will take place over the next several months, because our plan is by May. By May, we want to have a new plan ready to go. So this will happen over the next several months.
Would it be possible to have one board member and an alternate? If the
Sure.
board member couldn't attend, the alternate would attend. I mean, whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Sure, that's fine as well.
We're looking for volunteers right now.
I'll volunteer for this assignment.
Bless you, Mrs. Flanagan.
I think I can do that.
Does the board want 2 board members, or Mrs. Flanagan and an alternate? What do you think, Dr. Cotton?
I think either way is fine. I mean, if you
Right.
want to pick select an alternate, that would be fine. Or we'll just make sure we meet when Mrs. Flanagan can come. You know.
Is there another volunteer?
I'm open as well, whatever y'all need.
Well, it's a matter of whether we want 2 board members or 1 and an alternate. I guess 2 would be better. What do you think, Dr. Stoneball?
2 is more than 1.
2 is better than 1. We would certainly appreciate 2
Chair
board
would
members.
entertain a motion that we nominate those 2 board members.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Reverend Walker, seconded by Dr. Stoneball, that Mr. Martin and Mrs. Flanagan serve on this reboot committee. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you for volunteering, board members. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Next, we have Mrs. Milner. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. For the 2017-2018 school year, Henry County has received the opportunity to have the Title IV Part A grant. This is a new grant, and this is from the federal government, and it's to support our students academically, as well as helping them to be well-rounded. So our purpose, to give you just a little bit of background about this particular grant, is to provide all students with access to a well-rounded education, to improve school conditions for student learning, to improve the use of technology in order to enhance academic achievement in digital literacy. So when we were writing this grant, we wanted to make sure that we were in line with our strategic plan, and so we have identified the 5 goals that are identified within Vision 2018 to make sure that we are in alignment. The the federal government has allocated Henry County Public Schools with $78,289.70. So what we did is we conducted a needs assessment with our principals, and we asked them, Based on the weaknesses of your school and also looking at our data, we wanted to do something a little different with these funds because this is something new that we haven't had the opportunity to have before. So in our high schools, they are looking to begin a photography club. And with this grant, it will provide students the opportunity to learn the physical components of a camera, photography terminology, and other aspects of photography to spark interest and allow them to carry these techniques beyond their high school years. Also, our theater departments, this also gives us an opportunity to really look at our fine arts departments and provide them with resources that they may not have received previously. So we ask our theater departments, needs that they have, and so they listed some resources that they would like to have, and I have those listed here. And we've allocated about $20,000 for our theater departments, and this for $10,000 for each school. Also, additional art clubs at the elementary schools were mentioned. A sewing club was mentioned. Materials for the Student Council Association at one of our schools. Parent involvement at one of our schools. And also, when we think about our furniture, we also mentioned and listed some flexible furniture for our high schools because some of our schools are in need of additional seating, and we want to make it more suitable for our students. In the area of safe and healthy students, our PE staff members included that they needed some materials and some resources, so we were able to add some of their resource requests into this grant. You can see some of those are listed there. One thing that we're mandated to do is to provide our students with the CPR and first aid training, and we will do that. However, we want to take it to a different level with offering certification for students as well, and there is a cost associated when you're certifying students in addition to just training them. And we were hoping to do maybe some after-school sessions or some weekend sessions, so we actually added that into the grant. Based on the needs assessment that we mentioned, we are in need of some professional development opportunities for our staff members to learn how to deal with students who are at risk. When we think about trauma, maybe have experienced some trauma in their lives. So we're looking for professional development opportunities for those staff members so that we can better help our students. One other thing that was mentioned was the elementary fitness club, so we're looking to provide some funding for that, and that's dealing with our safe and healthy students. The nurse radios, this was a need that was mentioned. We're looking to purchase nurse radios for all of our schools to make sure that they can effectively communicate with each other as well as with Ms. Vestal. Not that they can't do that now, but this would be above and beyond what we currently do. We're also allocated some funding for technology. One thing that we're looking to do is to purchase 8 Apple iPads for our secondary guidance departments. And you'll hear a little bit more about this in November and December when we talk about the program of studies. But we're trying to make that piece interactive. So there's an online component. And by having the iPads, it would help them to be able, when they're working individually with students, they would be able to just use that piece. Also to purchase a piece of technology for one of our teachers in Elmo was a request. 2 Hewlett-Packard printers for our digital technology classes, and the cameras to support the actual photography club. When I mentioned all of this to you, it was mentioned in the accountability presentation that we're looking at high school redesign and on-time graduation. And we're trying to think outside of the box when we're looking at on-time graduation. We want to use this opportunity to be able to reach students that maybe, not necessarily academically, but maybe there's something else that could grasp their attention that would make them want to stay in school. And so this is our first year utilizing this grant. We're really going to work on next year's grant as well to make sure that we come up with additional opportunities so that our students will have, different opportunities to stay after school, something that will grasp their attention, that would keep them in school. Do you all have any questions for me?
Sounds like a good plan to me, anything that might help
Thank you.
to keep them occupied and in school.
Yes, ma'am.
As Mr. Warner would say, it's 100% grant money.
Yes, so it is recommended that the board approve the 2017 Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant.
And this is all a part of several things that will be coming to you over the next few months. As we've mentioned several times this morning, we are working on high school redesign and career pathways and expanding career and technical education, and we're really looking for ways that we can think outside the box to help our students, to engage our students, and we know that we can't do things the way we've always done them. We have to look at making changes. And the other important thing to note is that our students are very engaged in this process. Our students are telling us what they want to have at school, what they would like to participate in, what courses they would like for us to offer, and we are working to respond to those requests because our students are the most important stakeholders in this scenario, so we want to make sure that we're getting them excited about school and
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve the application.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, seconded by Reverend Walker, that we approve the grant application in the amount of $78,289.70. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, we have some K through 5 social studies.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. Virginia K-5 Social Studies Classroom Library is a comprehensive K-5 library designed to engage every student in Virginia social studies content. Through the stories of intriguing people, exciting places, and fascinating events that make social studies relevant to their lives, students can gain a global perspective. They also learn social studies themes and skills that are needed to become informed, participating citizens who consider diverse points of view, use critical thinking skills, and are active in their communities. These are aligned to the Virginia SOL standards. The books in the library provide research-based content, rigor, and depth in an easy-to-read, highly visual format that instantly connects with all types of learners. These classroom libraries will provide reading skills development and reinforcement organized around Virginia's social studies SOL content and skills. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of the Virginia K-5 Social Studies classroom libraries from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt in the estimated amount of $74,955.15 for each elementary school, and these will be purchased with Title I funds.
Any questions, Ms. Durham?
What do we have something currently that's just outdated?
We currently have the social studies book that we have adopted, but right now we don't have the leveled readers. These are like little leveled readers that teachers can use in their classrooms during English class or during social studies class on a certain topic, and it'll give reading materials for all students so they can have something to read on their level. So if you're talking about Jamestown, I might have a lower book for Jamestown, a middle level, and a higher level for the to push the higher kids.
It's largely the same content?
Yes, it will be the same content. It will be connected to the Virginia SOLs. We have reviewed all the materials, and they are connected to our SOLs. Yes.
And Dr. Stanball, the curriculum team is really looking at ways to integrate science and social studies into reading and math. And in particular, this will help integrate more, because I know that there's a very slight decrease in science and social studies, but one of the challenges that we have is fitting it all in.
Yes.
And the time that we have each day. So we're trying to find ways that we can integrate more throughout the K-5 curriculum, and this will really help the teachers incorporate nonfiction reading in the history and science content
The teacher
area.
can use these materials in the English class and teach English using these materials as well.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we purchase the K through 5 Social Studies Library. Second.
Motion by Reverend Archer, seconded by Mr. Martin, that we purchase the libraries. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0. Next, we have some National Geographic learning readers.
These
Title
are
I.
the same thing, except for science. We are going to purchase we want to purchase the National Geographic Learning as part of Cengage Learning, a leading educational publisher of pre-K through 12 digital and curricular classroom materials. Through their digital learning programs and classroom learning resources, students can experience what National Geographic explorers, scientists, writers, and photographers experience. National Geographic Learning designs materials with a highly interactive storytelling approach that engages and motivates learners. These are also aligned to the Virginia K-5 Science SOLs, and these are leveled readers, and they provide learners experiences with real stories that increase their knowledge of the world and everything in it. Illustrations within these materials include National Geographic photography, video, and illustrations that will bring the world to the classroom and the classroom to life. And the intention is to use these the same way that we would like to use the social studies materials in the ELA classrooms, so we can have some leveled readers with science content in our classrooms. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of National Geographic Learning leveled readers in the estimated amount of $24,300 for all Title I elementary schools, and these will be purchased with Title I funds.
Any other questions?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to purchase the National Geographic Learning level readers for Title I elementary schools.
Second. Motion by Ms. Flanagan, seconded by Mr. Martin. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have a contract for additional tests and inspections for Meadowview. Mr. Scott.
Good morning again, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President. It's a good way to start, isn't it? Mr. Vice Chairman, sorry. Members of the board, based on an extended time period due to weather delays and additional change orders for Meadowview, the estimated hours for testing and special inspections will exceed its original estimate. So RMM has provided a proposal in the amount of $126,000 for F&R to complete the additional testing and special inspections through the remainder of this construction. Now, to date, we have exceeded the testing and inspection estimate by $39,776.58. A few examples, the reason why these things take place, when soil compaction being tested. Every so many inches, they're doing a test of that compaction to make sure it's right, and if it starts raining, they have to pull off, and then they come back and test it again the next day. So that's happened a few times. While laying the block, same situation. If it starts testing while they're checking the grout filling, then they have to pull off and come back and retest that the next day. We've run into a little issue on the bus loop where the proof rolling, the soil is a little bit soft. So has resulted in a change order, which is additional testing. Now keep in mind, these groups test everything from look at every weld, every block, every grout filling, every pressure for the concrete, and so forth and so on. So it's recommended that a contract for additional testing inspections to finish up the review project will be awarded to RMM Architects in the amount of $126,000.
Any questions for Mr. Scott?
These things are pretty standard things that pop up in construction projects.
The change order things do from time to time, yes, sir. I think, and I'm a little nervous about speaking out loud. I told Dr. Cotton last time, but the change orders, we've been very fortunate. We're about below 50% of what we had originally estimated for change orders at this point. So I'm really excited about that. A lot of these things pop up because they're not known as you run through. The special testing and inspection has been a real eye-opener for me to see how detailed that is. Checking block pressures every 15 days and 26 days just to make sure we don't have any cracks and this building's built solid. So we've got a lot of backup to make sure that the testing, that everything that's being put in is done correctly. So. And a lot of it is required, of course, too, per codes.
I guess I'm disappointed that these are standard things, and yet everything's coming in that seems over budget, which suggests maybe the original estimate wasn't a good faith effort. in terms of an amount, because none of these seem exceptional, and this isn't reflective of you. I just wish our MM had submitted a more accurate proposal early on so that it's not constant. I mean, I have yet to hear that we're coming in under budget on anything, which would be a pleasant surprise, and I would think that a good faith estimate would occasionally result in an under budget. So again, just a comment about that.
And that's
obviously
fair.
We have to do this.
That's fair enough. Yes, sir. There's a lot of unknowns, as we mentioned here, that the weather played a big part, because you can't kind of factor for that piece on it. But you're right. There's if we were building one again tomorrow, there's a lot of different factors that obviously come into play that we would look at. But I think their estimate based on that size of building and that size of project is typically what they run into. But I think these are some items that came out of left field, if you will, too. So.
And we do have savings in other areas.
We do, right.
And the other thing to point out is we factored this into the amount that we shared with the Board of Supervisors that we have left to pay on the project. But when it's all said and done, we're hoping we'll have some savings in other areas. We always worry to talk too much about it because things could change, but there are some anticipated savings in other areas.
We are recognizing those, yes.
Well, please, even if it doesn't require a motion, let us know about some of those. Share those with us. Thank you.
I think that's what's happening, is we're sharing the ones that require the motion, but we do have some savings.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve to award a contract for additional testing inspection from Meadowview.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Stonebaugh, seconded by Mrs. Flanagan, to approve the $126,000. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 5-0, 2 members absent. Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott. We move on to Dr. Cotton's show.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I do have some highlights from September I'd like to share. The first one is Helping Hands. In collaboration with the Boy Scouts of America, students at Axton Elementary will be collecting items to send to the victims of Hurricane Harvey at the annual back-to-school PTO night. In order to prepare, students at Axton decorated boxes that will hold the supplies that are going to Houston. There you go. Shooting hoops. Members of the Harlem Wizards basketball team visited Collinsville Primary School during the school day before they played for a fundraising event at Bassett High School in September. Players used basketball tricks to talk with students about self-esteem and character. We are family. Families visited classrooms at G.W. Carver Elementary during the month of September and completed activities to learn strategies for use in supporting learning and literacy at home. Much more than Legos. Students at John Red Smith have been enhancing their engineering, critical thinking, coding, and cooperation skills this month while building Lego We Do bots with Mrs. Phyllis Mead during library time. Perfecting command codes is ensuring that students are developing the essential skill of attention to detail as well. Student support systems. The Mount Olivet PTO and faculty hosted an open house for families in September. The night's focus was all about me, featuring presentations and posters created by students. Later that week, grandparents were invited to enjoy lunch at school with students. School staff and family members enjoyed the opportunity to collaborate as they work to support student growth and development. You might recognize some of those parents there. Making senses. Kindergarten students at Rich Acres had a scrumptious day recently. Students were given the opportunity to put one of the 5 senses to work while sampling one of their teacher's favorite snacks, popcorn and milk duds. They were able to identify the sweet and salty taste of their snack during their experiment and are looking forward to many more hands-on activities as they continue their science unit on the 5 senses. Full steam ahead. On September 12th, Sandville Elementary held its STEM Family Night of the year. Teachers welcomed large numbers of parents and children of all ages to challenges involving science, technology, engineering, and math. Donna Hicks, Bassett High School ITRT, and Phyllis Mead, STEM coordinator, shared interactive coding activities. There was also a little extra steam added to the night with Mr. Kendall's art challenge. When asked about her evening, one parent replied, "I'm having so much fun, but it's not easy." And I think you all can relate to that because I know the students came and shared some of their activities with you last year. Liberty and justice for all. The words, "I pledge allegiance to the flag," took on a new meaning for students in Mrs. Draper's first grade class at Stanleytown this month as students learned about the American flag and other American symbols. As part of their unit on symbols and patriotism, students created their own flags, made a bald eagle and the Washington Monument, and sang patriotic songs. Shape-shifting. In honor of National Arts Education Week, FC Middle School 8th grade students worked with the second element of art, shape, to create imaginative portraits based on the human condition. Students are learning what it means to compose imagery using the techniques of contemporary artist Aaron Chase. Students will write artist statements and critique the words of their peers as projects are seen to completion. Love from the Lancers. Students and staff at Laurel Park Middle School recently held a water drive to help victims of Hurricane Harvey's devastation in Texas. Members of the community and the HCPS Maintenance Department generously donated water as well. The Lancer community was excited to be able to share over 150 cases of water with those in need. Eclipse Mania. At Bassett High School, Mrs. Kendall's marketing class took on their recent solar eclipse as a marketing project. Students were to adopt the role of today's advertisers, use the eclipse to create slogans and ad campaigns for a product of their choosing. The students then created flyers to hang in the hallway for all to see. The project allowed students to see how advertisers use popular events and culture to convince a buyer that their product is the best and most relevant. Coaching careers. Rachel Wingfield, Patrick Henry Community College career coach, worked with 12th grade students at Magna Vista High School to complete the resume and job application portion of their senior portfolio during the month of September. These important pieces will be used by students over the course of the next year as they work to prepare for their futures beyond high school. Read with me. Staff and school board members from around the division visited elementary schools on National Read a Book Day in September. The students love to welcome visitors into their classrooms and enjoy showing visitors the skills they have mastered so far. Readers engaged the students in conversation and emphasized the importance of becoming fluent readers by practicing the skill every day. And of course, you do recognize some of those folks as well. I believe I see 2 board members there reading. So we can get you on a permanent schedule so that you all can visit more often. Congratulations to the following staff members. Axton Elementary's Heather Vai won the Apple TV for use with her students in the classroom. Donna Stevens, who works in our special education department, was nominated by a colleague for the Superintendent Starfish Award. Sheila Lopez, who works in curriculum instruction, was also nominated by a colleague for the Superintendent Starfish Award. And last but not least, Angie Wood, bookkeeper at Magna Vista High School, was nominated by a colleague for this award as well. So congratulations to all of those folks. Mr. Vice Chairman, this does complete my update. I do have other items included that we'd be glad to answer any questions about at this time.
Any questions for Dr. Cotton? Okay, we have matters presented by the board. Any matters by the board today? I would mention one thing. A couple weeks ago, Magna Vista High School had a volunteer appreciation night where they recognized the volunteers like the fire department and the rescue squads, and it was a tremendous success. And Mr. Bird deserves most of the credit, and it's going to be bigger and better next year, and I would recommend that Bassett High School do the same thing, that we realize more and more how important these people are in light of what happened in Las Vegas. One other thing, a couple parents mentioned to me that they recommend that a rescue squad be at the middle school football games, the home games. So I think it'd be a good idea. There are several rescue squads that cover each middle school, and if they would just notify one of the rescue squads, they probably could get a vehicle there. I know the board places a lot of emphasis on safety.
And you mentioned that to me before, and I had Mr. Minner check in. Do you have any updates, Mr. Minner, on that?
Yes, we've been in communication with our local rescue and fire departments, and what they've said to us is that they will moving forward, be working with our middle schools to have rescue in place. The issue they sometimes come up with is when there's a call, they have to leave and go to that call. So what they're going to do is they're going to work with us. We've already given them our schedules for this year and for the future, so they're going to be able to help us with that. So.
like I said, several parents suggested it, and it wasn't my idea. I thought it was a good idea, and I appreciate you and Dr. Cotton
Yes, sir.
checking into that there.
Thanks.
Any other board matters?
I just want to echo your comments on the Appreciation Day, and we can't let you Magna Vista folks have all the fun.
Right. Like I said, they have any questions, check with Mr. Bird, because he did an excellent job organizing that. We have future meeting dates. They're all listed for the board to look at. And we're going to take a 10-minute break and meet in the boardroom upstairs for a safety session.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see you up there in about 10 minutes.
So move.
Second.
Motion and second to return to open session. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 4-0. Certification of closed session.
Whereas the school board of Henry County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the Sunshine Closure Code, and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section 2.2-3712.d of the Code of Virginia requires the certification of this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia laws. Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of Henry County hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. Mr. Alker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Dr. Stambaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Zake?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the personnel report and addendum.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the personnel report as amended. A second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 4-0. Any other business, Dr. Cotton?
No, sir. Unless you want to come to the football game Friday night, wear pink. We're having the big pink out in honor of breast cancer awareness, so you'll have to dig out a pink shirt out of your closet.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand.